Hello, this is Bill Webb, aka Billy Indiana. Today I'm going to recap my experiences at Dice Tower West 2023 in Las Vegas, tell you a little bit about my experiences there, reflect on the games that I had said in a previous video I hope to play, and then talk about which ones I actually did get to play from that list and my experience with them, and then also just briefly recount the top 10 games of the 16 that I did have a chance to get to the table while at Dice Tower West. So let me start by saying this was my first board game convention that I've actually attended. I went to the World Series of Board Gaming back in September of 2022, and that was kind of like a board game convention, but even the facilitators there and the people organizing it said that it's really more of an event, and it's a competition with some side competitions and some free open play, but really mellow and very smaller numbers than Dice Tower West. Even though Dice Tower West isn't a huge convention, it was a lot more than at the World Series of Board Gaming. So it felt very different, and I loved the World Series of Board Gaming experience, and I also loved Dice Tower West. So some of the reasons that I love Dice Tower West. One, I got to go with two of my friends that I enjoy playing games with that live here in Camarillo and Moore Park, and we went and we stayed together and we spent the weekend there in Vegas. Drove up Thursday night and kind of quickly looked around Thursday night and then spent all day Friday, all day Saturday, and about half the day Sunday at the convention, meeting people, playing games, hanging out, and just having a great time. So my number one kind of reflection that I enjoyed the most was just hanging out with my friends. And then the second thing that was really fun was meeting a lot of people that I've seen before online. Some of them I've even interacted with through emails or through chatting in the comments on videos or on Instagram. And then finally having a chance to meet some of them in person. That was probably my second favorite thing to do. And some of them are friends that I have met before, and just it was really fun to catch up with them again. So the people really, were the two top things about the event. But I also enjoyed just the opportunity to go to the live top 10 list by the Dice Tower team and go to the library and pick out games that I wouldn't have had a chance to play otherwise. And just to walk around the exhibitors and see what they had for sale and see about some games that aren't out yet, but that are either coming soon or going to be coming to crowdfunding. Just lots of little things like that made the whole weekend a great opportunity, great fun time for me. So I want to first recap some of the people that I met, because that was, like I said, one of the most favorite things for me of the weekend. And the first person I met that sort of I would consider kind of a celebrity that if you're in the board game hobby, you know about Tom Vasel, and he's the host and the organizer or the co-organizer of this event along with some other people. So meeting him, and I kind of briefly met him at the World Series of Board Gaming, but getting my picture taken with him and just getting a few moments to chat with him at Dice Tower West was a lot of fun. Even though he almost had no voice, still it was fun to kind of briefly interact with Tom. And then after him that same night, I was able to meet Chris Yee, just kind of milling through and chatted with him for a few minutes in the hot games area and asking him how he was, what he was having fun playing. And it was, just fun to interact with him. And then I didn't really get a chance to interact with Z or Camilla or Mike or Roy, but I saw them around. They were always busy. And so it's fun to see them there and kind of wave and say hi, but didn't get a chance to stop and chat with them or play a game with any of them, but it was still fun to see them. And then Alison and Bryce from Better Half Reviews, they're friends of mine. We've gotten together a few times. We've played games online together. We've met at their house a couple of times as I was driving back and forth between Los Angeles and Seattle to visit my kids. So it was fun to catch up with them. We got to play several games together and just hang out. I got to be taught games by Alison for a new upcoming Kickstarter crowdfunding program or a project that's coming soon. So it was fun to see them and just spend some time with them again. And that was a great highlight. One of the games that we got to play together, at least Alison and I, was Trailblazer, the Arizona Trail. And that was especially fun because we also got to play with Lyzyl, who is someone you can also find online. And I'll put links to channels and Instagrams and stuff below here. So if you aren't familiar with some of these characters, you can check them out because they're really good people. And Dan Rice, the creator of the Trailblazer games, was there. I got to see Andrew Bosley, didn't get a chance to chat with him, but he's the artist for a lot of games, including the Trailblazer games. So yeah, it was really fun. And Dan Rice taught us the game, the Arizona Trail, Trailblazer, the Arizona Trail. So that was a lot of fun too. And while I was playing that game, Tim Chuon happened to walk by, and I had seen he and Banzinator at the restaurant earlier in the day, or it might have been the night before, and just got a chance to say hi. But this time I got a chance to take a picture with Tim, and so that was really cool to catch up. He lives, not too far, maybe a couple hours from where I live here in Southern California. So it was fun to catch up with another SoCal native and someone whose channel I've really enjoyed watching for a long time. And I got to see Banzinator at the World Series of Board Gaming, but then getting a chance to say hi. I think we were at Smash Burger when I first saw them, and got a chance to just briefly say hi while we were grabbing our food, but that was fun. I also got to meet Rahdo, who I've followed for years since I jumped into the board gaming hobby and watched so many of his videos, and so didn't have a chance to talk to him very long, but just a brief chat while he was at his wife's station or table where she was selling her glass art. So that was really fun to actually get to meet him in person briefly. I got to hang out just for a little bit and chat with Chris George while he was monitoring and kind of managing the World Series of Board Gaming tournaments that were going on at this Dice Tower West. So that was fun. I'd seen him at the World Series of Board Gaming, but he was so busy, never had a chance to kind of sit down. And we sat and chatted for 10 or 15 minutes and just the things we love about the hobby. And it was just a lot of fun to visit with him. I also got to meet Collin and Andrew. They have Instagram channels, and Andrew's just started a YouTube channel as well. Collin goes by ColeCakes196 on Instagram, and Andrew is Boredom11 on the Instagram. I forget the title. I'll put it down below, the link to his new YouTube channel. But it was fun to meet them just briefly and get a picture. So really great guys. Amy and Maggie from Thinker Themer, I've been chatting on their videos with them for so long, and it was great to just meet them in person. Didn't have a lot of time to spend with them or play a game at this particular event, but it was still fun to briefly say hi and chat for a few minutes with Amy, especially the second time I actually got to speak just briefly with her. I didn't see Maggie the second time around, but still, it was a lot of fun to meet them at least in person. And then the last one that I have on my list, Nick Murphy, I got to meet him at the World Series of Board Game as well, but chatted just briefly again with him, got a picture with he and Amy as they were playing Cosmoctopus or something like that. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to just see those people, interact with some of them, and play games with some of them, visit with some that I had never met before, some that I have a friendship with, and that was just a highlight for me on the trip. Now, going back to the video that I posted a while back, I had mentioned a bunch of games that I was hoping to play. Some of them that were just games I didn't even know if they'd be there because they're not actually released yet. Games like Rebuilding Seattle, Empire's End, and the Trailblazer Arizona Trail. And I did get a chance, as I mentioned, to play a prototype of the Trailblazer, the Arizona Trail, and I did get a chance to play Rebuilding Seattle as well. I heard that someone had a prototype of Empire's End there, and actually from a distance, I'm pretty sure I saw John D. Clare with his Dodgers hat on, but I didn't get a chance to meet him. Oh, and I also saw just in passing Ruel walk by. I happened to be on the phone, so I didn't get a chance to chat with him either, but yeah, so fun to just see those folks. But I didn't see Empire's End actually. Some other games that I had put in that video that I was hoping to play either from the library, and they either weren't in the library or they weren't available when I went looking for them, or they just weren't there at all. So Sabika was one that I was hoping to try, Monolith, Turing Machine, Federation. I did see Federation in the Hot Games room, but we just never got around to it. Ostia and Aqua Garden weren't part of the library. I asked, and they didn't even have them. And it wasn't that they were checked out, they just weren't part of the Dice Tower West library. And Etowah, that one, and Revive and Federation and Turing Machine, I think those were all in the Hot Games room, but we never got around to them. So I still am wanting to play most of those, although I did get to play Revive recently. A friend had a copy in at a game night here just in town locally. We got to play that, and I loved that game, Revive. That's one I'll probably end up adding to my collection. I'd like to play it again and try maybe playing with my wife to see if she enjoys it, but man, it made a really strong first impression for me. The 5 games that were and the ones that I was hoping to play that I did get a chance to play were Acropolis, the Guild of Merchant Explorers, Orichalcum, as I mentioned, Trailblazer, the Arizona Trail, and Rebuilding Seattle. So I got to play 5 of the ones that I'd mentioned in that prior video. And now I'm going to just count down the top 10. I'll mention some that I got to play that didn't quite make the top 10, but I enjoyed every game I played. So Thrones of Valeria I got to play, Tidal Blades Banner Festival, Rebuilding Seattle, as I mentioned, Lords of Scotland, The Bottle Imp, and Inheritors. Some of those I'd played before, most I had not played before. Enjoyed all of them. I'd be happy to play all of them again. Didn't quite make the top 10 list, though, for me of my favorite gameplays while I was at Dice Tower West. Now, if you want to go back and watch from a day or so ago my games that I played in March, I talked a little bit about those games, but I'm going to not talk about those here. I'm just going to briefly talk about my top 10. So at number 10, I'm going to put the Guild of Merchant Explorers. I did enjoy it. It was a fun game to try. It isn't probably one that I would purchase, but I would always be happy to play it. I enjoyed the aspect of going out on the maps and trying to strategically build little stations so that you could expand from there. I liked some of the little strategies in terms of I think it was cards that you played to gain different advantages. Yeah, it's a little hazy because it was a few weeks ago and I just played it the one time. And I liked making the paths and trying to score each round. And so I enjoyed all of those aspects of the game. And I'd be happy to play it again. But it wasn't off the charts great for me. It was just good. And so it breaks the top 10 here, but that's why it's down at number 10. Number 9 was Comic Hunters, and this was really hard to find, so it was fun to get our chance to play it in that Hot Games area. So that was one we kind of prioritized, because I knew that Federation I'll probably get a chance to play. I knew my friend was getting his copy of Revive soon. I knew that Etowah would be one that I'd be able to play again. But Comic Hunters was one that I wasn't sure, because I didn't know if anyone would own it. It turns out that one of my friends actually does have it, but at the time I wasn't sure. And so seeing it there in the Hot Games area, I was like, hey, and then he said, oh, you know, I can teach it to you. So we had a good time playing that one. And it wasn't one that I would probably want to purchase myself because I'm just not into that hobby of comic book collecting. So the theme just didn't draw me in, even though it was Marvel, which I do enjoy. But I like the set collection. I like the unique drafting. There was a different kind of drafting, multiple different kinds of drafting every round, and the order that they came in was different. And so that was really clever. I enjoyed it. It was a fun game. Comes in at number 9. Number 8, and these two are kind of side by side because I really enjoyed both of them. But I put Comic Hunters at 9, and then Tiletum or Tiletum or however you pronounce it from Board and Dice is number 8. I think it maybe has a slight edge over Comic Hunters. It just tends to be the kind of game that I enjoy more with the Euro-y kind of comboing, and there was a few unique mechanisms that kind of reminded me in some ways of Sky Mines. Just minor little connections there, but I enjoyed that game as well. It went a little long, and that's why it's down here at number 8, not higher on the list. I would like to try it again, though. Tiletum or Tiletum, however you say it. Number 7, Joan of Arc, Draw and Write. Now, I love Orleans, and got to play Orleans there, too. But I am going to mention the Joan of Arc because it was new to me. And I don't love roll and writes or flip and writes. They're fine. Some I enjoy them better than others. Merchants of Magic, in the Set of Watch series, I really enjoy that one quite a bit. Joan of Arc, it might have been the group. We had 5 players, and 3 of the 5 were really slow, and so it took a long time for them to get through their turns, and I was just trying to learn the game and just wanted to kind of get through the game to try it. I guess my focus was different than theirs, perhaps, and so it took a little while to get through the game. It felt a little long. But I did enjoy it. It reminded me of Orleans, and I think in some ways it even takes a little bit of the luck out of what you experience with Orleans because of drawing from the bag and not knowing what you're going to get. And I got to play Orleans there as well. Still loving that game. But Joan of Arc is number 7. I would like to try it again, maybe with a smaller group. It also has a solo mode, which I think might be fun, but I wasn't ready to just run out and buy it right after I played it. So it was good, but not great. So all of these kind of the top, I enjoyed every one of them. Be happy to play all of them, but haven't ordered any of them yet. Number 6, Acropolis. This is probably the closest one that I would think so far that I would say I might pick this one up. It kind of reminds me of King Domino, kind of reminds me of Cascadia. King Domino and the fact that as you're putting the tiles out, you need to get some tiles that have the little stars on them, like you need the crowns in King Domino to score the different colors of tiles. And then the pattern building, like Cascadia, where some of them want to be in clusters, some of them want to be in chains, some of them will be by themselves, some want to be on the outer edge. And so that kind of how you're trying to get the bears and the trout in different patterns, that kind of reminded me a little bit of Cascadia in Acropolis. It was really easy to learn and quick to play. And so I would like to get this. I've played it on BGA again since I got back and enjoyed the BGA experience as well. I'd like to play it with my wife to see if she enjoys it. It feels, like I said, we like King Domino, we like Cascadia. I don't know that I would need this one because we already have those two, but it's tempting to think about because I did enjoy it. And I like the 3D layering of the tiles, which made it one that's kind of on the verge of, do I want to pick this up? I think if I found a really good deal or could trade for it, then I might be willing to do that. That's number 6. Number 5 is Nestlings, and this is one that'll be coming to crowdfunding later this year, I believe, by Tangerine Games. And Alison from Better Half Reviews taught a group of us this game on Sunday morning before we left. Really enjoyed it. It was very beautiful art, and I liked the little wedge pieces that you were putting on your own player board and trying to put them in certain orders and combo those together to kind of chain them. You can put one and fill it and chain to get another one and fill it. And I love the different powers that gave you, the different opportunities that gave you. I love the kind of drafting mechanism and the way that worked on the central board to get the tiles. And we all wanted certain kinds of tiles for our board. But you kind of knew what other people were going for, and so there was a little bit of a hate drafting that could happen. And so that was a really unique game mechanism that I enjoyed. And so when this comes to crowdfunding, I'll definitely be checking that out and seeing. It was prototype, so I'm sure there'll be changes to the game, and so I'm anxious to see what that looks like when it comes to crowdfunding later this year. Number 4 is Orichalcum, and Orichalcum, I believe it's Bruna Cathal, if I'm not mistaken. And we played this one really late at night, and it still made it all the way to number 4, even though I was hazy. And I was the one that taught it, so I read the rules, I watched a couple videos, and yet even so, being tired and all of us running up on little fringe cases and edge cases, and it took us a while to get through the game. So it kind of let me down compared to where I had it in my brain, but I still really enjoyed it. And I liked the map part of it, putting all the pieces together and trying to get them in certain patterns. And I liked using the extra actions by collecting the different materials, the different resources. I liked trying to get those titans and how those could flow from player to player. A lot of really unique things that I enjoyed about Orichalcum, and I really want to play that one again. I'm not quite ready to just go out and buy it immediately. I think I want to play it one more time when I'm not so tired late at night first, but it's probably one that I would be excited to purchase and add to the collection. Next up is Furnace Interbellum. Now, I just have the base game of it here, but Interbellum I got a chance to try at one of the demo tables, and it's an Arcane Wonders expansion to Furnace. I like Furnace in the engine building, and I like that it's quick. And Interbellum added a few layers. It added some new cards where you could put some tiles on the cards and bid for those tiles, and then those tiles would go into your engine, basically, and you could even move the tiles from machine to machine as you ran your engine of machines in the next round. So you could use it on this card for this round and then switch to another card for the next round. You might get another tile. And so it just added another level to that engine building. And then you also got this disc that had a spin dial. It looked like a score counter on a lot of games, but you could set it to how many coal you were willing to play and then use that as another bidding chip of variable power. So if you had 3 coals to play, you could make it a 3. If you had 4, you could make it a 4. If you had 1, you could make it a 1 and just try to get one of those actions at the top of the card, even though you might not take the bid for a card. Or if there's a card that no one was bidding on, you say, hey, I might as well take it, put a 1 out there and take that card. So yeah, it was interesting. I think the new aspects of Interbellum made it a little deeper. It also made the game just a little bit longer. It is an expansion that I feel like I need to have. It was an expansion that I feel like I would enjoy having and probably would play with it most of the time if I had it. But I enjoy the base game just the way it is too. So it wasn't one of those like must-have expansions in my opinion, but I did enjoy it and probably at some point we'll pick it up. So that was number 3. Number 2 really surprised me because when I saw the title, and I've seen it as a TMG game originally, I think, and now put out by some different companies. I forget who's most recently reproduced it or republished it, but it's Crusaders Thy Will Be Done. And by the title and theme, I thought, I'm really not interested in this game. That theme doesn't appeal to me. But when I saw the game, I thought, wow, that's really beautiful. And we did have the deluxe version to use. And a friend of mine that owned the game and understood it, he taught it. So that was nice. We didn't have to figure out the rules while we were there. And it didn't feel like Crusaders. Like, I felt like any theme could have been on there. It felt more like an exploration than crusading. But I enjoyed it. I really liked on the player boards how you would try to advance the different tracks. And you could do that in any order, and depending on what your abilities were, this one might be the first one you'd want to advance based on where you were on the board. And then there's a little bit of a race to spots, although we just had a 2-player game. I'd love to try it with 3 and 4. So Crusaders Thy Will Be Done was one that I don't know that I ever would have really gone out of my way to play. When I bought a bunch of TMG games when they were going out of business, and I think Fun Again Games had like a clearance sale on them, and I picked up a bunch of TMG games at clearance prices right when they were not yet sold out, and that was one that I went back and forth on, but the theme just was like, well, I don't think I'm going to get it, and now I kind of regret it. So I would like to play Crusaders. That will be done, and it has been reprinted now. Like I said, I forget who the new publisher is, but so I could now go get it again if I want to. And like I said, if that deluxe version with the nice wooden pieces and the double layer boards was really pretty. But I like the mechanism and how the scoring worked, and yeah, it's one that I definitely want to play again. But my number one game that I played at Dice Tower West was Trailblazer Arizona Trail. And it did take a long time because it's a complex game, and we had Dan Rice taught us the game, and I think was there just 4 of us? Yeah, I guess there were just 4 of us. Dan was there as a 5th person, but he wasn't playing. And it did take quite a while to play because we always had a lot of questions, and it was a prototype, so there were a few things that he had to correct or change, but it was kind of cool that, you know, we could give him suggestions and feedback too, and he seemed very open to that. So I'm really excited for when this crowdfunding project comes online. It's one that I'm pretty sure I will be backing because I enjoyed even the prototype version so much. And I loved so many things about it. It had the kind of Arc Nova, Raja of the Ganges scoring where you're going 2 different ways around the trail. But the trigger wasn't when they crossed. Your score was still based on the difference between them. But the trigger was when you finished the trail, which was kind of cool. And there were several different tracks you were working on. There was an elevation track, and then there was terrain tracks down at the bottom. And there were different reasons to try to work across both of those tracks. And so it kind of reminded me in some ways of Arc Nova. It kind of reminded me in some ways of like the research track on Arnak. It had little aspects that kind of made me think of other games, and yet it had things that were new, like the cards you were choosing and the mechanism for choosing, and then the blocking, and then the cool creatures. There was like a Gila monster and a jackalope, really fun creatures that you could use for special powers. And so there were just so many unique things about this game that Trailblazer with the Arizona Trail was my number one game that I played at Dice Tower West. So there you have it. Quick reflections, well, maybe not so quick, on Dice Tower West. Some of my favorite memories, meeting a bunch of people, hanging out with my buds. You know, it was just a great time. I'm very excited to go back again in the future. And then again, my top 10 list of the games that I played. If you played any of these games, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the games. Or if you were at Dice Tower West, there were a few people that I was hoping to meet there, and I think they were there, but I never crossed their paths. So I missed out on that. Oh, and one other one I forgot. We didn't really have a chance to talk, but Brian from Board Game Brigade, I got to just briefly say hi to him as I was passing by. Another one that love his channel and got a chance to just briefly say hi to. So that, you know, it's so much fun, and I hope to meet more and more of these people who feel like they're in some ways becoming friends as I get to interact with them. So that was a great experience, and I look forward to it. And if you were there and I didn't get a chance to see you, tell me what you liked about Dice Tower West. Or if you've been to other board game conventions, tell me about those and what you enjoyed about those. I'm hoping to go to Gen Con in August this year and make a trip out to see my family, who many of them live in Indiana. So we'll see if we can pull that together. That's kind of been a convention that I've wanted to attend, and so I'm excited to try that. I know that will be very, very different. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions for me, leave those in the comments down below. And as always, thanks for watching. This is Billy Indiana, signing off.